What are you an expert at? If you have a podcast, chances are your show features your area of expertise. But how much do you really know about podcast production? My clients often thank me for making their shows sound great, but in my opinion, the main benefit I provide for all of my production clients is time. Time to do what they are experts at. Time to grow their businesses, time to focus, and not stress out trying to do the technical production work that isn't their area of expertise. If you have a podcast or want to start one and you're ready to save 3 hours or more each week to focus on the stuff you're an expert at, I'd love to do all of your editing, mixing, mastering, and show distribution for you so that you can focus on growing your community and business. You can find out more at emeraldcitypro.com/services. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm your host, Danny Osmond. If you love podcasts, if you are passionate about your business, if you want to create and grow a podcast that will connect you with your ideal customers, and you want access to education, to resources, and to other amazing business leaders and podcasters who can help you do it better every single day, then this is the podcast for you. Each month, the Middle Tennessee Electric Membership Corporation sends out a neat little magazine called Tennessee Magazine. They've been doing this thing for years. They have a section in the magazine, actually, that showcases what was in the magazine 50 years ago. So you can tell how long they've been doing this. You know, they give advice on how to do things. There's a history article each time, but it's a really interesting little magazine, especially to read in the toilet or wherever you read magazines. And there's this perfect article in there this month that I saw, and it was about kitchen remodeling and how to do it right, who to use, all those sorts of things. But there was a little segment of it called To DIY or Not to DIY. DIY meaning do it yourself. And they made such great points, and this article could easily have been written about podcasting. You know, it starts out with the popularity of remodeling television shows and blogs. A do-it-yourself project might sound appealing. Well, I could say the same thing about podcasting. You've heard everybody's got a podcast these days. More and more people, more than 50% of Americans have listened to a podcast now. So I could say the same thing about podcasting. People think it's something that anyone can do, and with the popularity of apps like Anchor.fm that made it so easy for anyone to just start recording and publish anything, even if nobody's ever going to listen to it, there's a popular opinion out there that it's actually easy to do a podcast. And this article kind of summed up why it's not always easy to do this. So let me continue reading this article, and I'm going to relate to you how this is basically the same for podcasting. So it continues, but how can a homeowner be sure that taking on a DIY kitchen remodel is a good idea? So this actually came from the National Association of the Remodeling Industry, and they're offering up several questions that people should consider before they start a remodeling project. So what I'm going to do with these questions is actually fill in the word homeowner with podcaster or potential podcaster, and you'll see how it makes sense. Okay, so question number 1. Does the potential podcaster or the podcaster have the expertise needed for the project? You know, there's a lot of things that goes into podcasting. It's not just about creating the content. It's not just about being a good interviewer. It's about knowing what gear to get, about how to set it up, about how to use it, about how to work in the room that you have so that people can understand you. It's about how to edit it. It's about how to mix it. It's about how to get it published. There's lots of stuff that goes into a podcast. So do you have the expertise needed for the project? Question number 2, what about tools? Does the podcaster own the needed equipment, or will tools need to be rented or purchased? Well, hell yeah. If you're going to start a podcast, you need to do all those things. You need the equipment just to record the podcast. Do you know what to get? Okay, let's continue with question number 3. Does the podcaster have the time needed to start the project and carry it through completion? Okay, now time could mean many things. First of all, podcasting is a commitment. It is a long play. It is a long game. You need to plan on publishing weekly, twice a month, monthly with consistency for 6 months to a year before you really see traction and your community start to build. And then let's talk about the weekly time commitment. It's not just creating the content and then recording the content. If you're going to try and edit this yourself, if you're going to try and do all of the technical stuff, the publishing yourself, plan on 2 times, 3 times the length of the amount of time it took to record your episode to get all of that stuff done. So do you have the time? Question number 4 here. Will the podcaster require another person's assistance? If so, does that person have the availability to help? I can take this question in many different ways. There are some things that you're going to need to have. If you're not a graphic designer, you're going to need to find someone to create your artwork for you. If you don't know anything about launching a podcast, you're going to need help with that. You're going to need help setting things up, setting up the publishing, all that sort of stuff. If you aren't technical and you don't understand how to produce audio or edit audio or whatever you want to call it, you're going to need to find someone to help with that. Let's look at it this way. Say you want to have a co-host. Do you guys have time to work on this together? Are they available? Okay, question number 5. Does the project require knowledge of local building codes? I thought this one was interesting because it again emphasizes the technical know-how that you're going to need to start a podcast. There's a lot there. You're going to do a lot of reading. You're going to watch a lot of video tutorials. You're going to spend time learning all of these things. How to, best practices, all the standard stuff that you need to know to get a podcast out there. Question number 7, where will the materials needed for the project come from? You may have a great idea for a podcast, but have you sat down yet and thought about how you're going to plan out that content? How many episodes you're going to have available? How many episodes you're going to be able to create before you run out of something? How are you going to get new ideas? All the things that you're going to go through creating new content on a weekly basis. And then finally, the best question of all, question number 8. Is this DIY project an attempt to save money? If so, will the podcaster's time investment outweigh the potential cost for a professional to complete the project? This is where people like me come in. People that do all these things. I help people build podcasts and create podcasts soup to nuts, from the idea and creating the title of the podcast all the way to launching it and all the production and all the technical stuff in between, all the design stuff. Think about the time that you have. If you're a business owner, if you are a thought leader, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're a realtor, if you're a lawyer, if you're a busy executive, do you have the time to invest in creating something like a podcast that could really help you out? Or would it be better off for you to hire someone to do most of the work and you come in as the talent or the host, if you will? If you're curious, take a look at my site, emeraldcitypro.com, and click on the services page, and you'll see what we charge monthly to help produce a weekly podcast, for instance. Take that, divide it by 4, and think about what your hourly rate is and whether it would be worth it for you to bring in help if you're thinking about creating a podcast. So anyway, this was a great article. I thought it was very interesting that it related just as well to remodeling a kitchen as it did to starting a podcast. So if you'd like more help in creating your podcast, just reach out to me. Head over to my site, emeraldcitypro.com, or email me at danny@emeraldcitypro.com. You can also set up a call with me, emeraldcitypro.com/call, and I would love to talk to you about helping you create a meaningful podcast that changes the world and sticks around for a long time to come. So there you have it. If you're ready to make a real change in your business in 2019, start today by, first of all, subscribing to this show on Apple or Stitcher or Android or Google Podcast or whatever. Number 2, please leave me a review. It's really helpful in getting the word out to other people. Apple likes it when people rate and review shows, and it puts it up in search results and things like that. And number 3, share it with a friend, a colleague, a coworker who you think would enjoy my episodes. So that's it. I look forward to seeing you next week in the next episode.